Today we're in conversation with Leo Klafki, a longtime Golden resident, having arrived here in Golden, I think, before I was even born. And Leo, could you tell us a little bit about where you were born?
I was born in East Prussia in 1932 on the farm, no hospital. And that's today a part of Poland. And I left our home in 1945 when we tried to escape from the Russians. And we made it through 3 provinces when the Russians caught up with us. That's a time I really like to forget, because I was too cruel. Yeah. So then after the war, I ended up for a year and a half in Poland, 47 to 48, and where you died with my family in 1948. I'd never seen Dad again since 45. We got separated. But year and a half in Poland was a real eye-opener, because the Poles that came into East Prussia to take over the country were not the most, how shall I put it nicely, not the most honest people. As they took whatever they could from you, and you had no choice. Even the militia came at night with gun pointed to all what we had. But then from 45 to 47, there was nothing as far as government or business, no stores, no nothing. We had a population of 770 people, but after the war, when I came back, there were 75 people, or the other people had left. Yeah. Then 47, 47, the Poles moved in, and they started to run the country, and we started working for the Poles to clean up the forest that the grenades had damaged. And we earned about, there was 4 of us from with my uncle and 3 nephews, or cousins I should say. We earned about a loaf of bread a day. But we were glad to have that, because we got a few zlotys, which was the currency of the Polish regime. And in 47, the Pole that came to my uncle's farm, that came to the brother, and they came and picked up equipment from our farm, or from the area, to take back. And the brother, he asked me if I want to go and watch cows for him on the farm. And my uncle, we were a family of 9, a lot of mouths to feed, and I agreed, and that was real, the Poles that you would say were just as average as anybody else. They were not the Poles that tried to settle in East Prussia. No, that was good experience. Even my uncle, when they were forced out in 48, the little they had on the station, they were robbed at that time, even still, you know. But I was promised 50 zlotys a month at the farm I went. I never seen the 50s slutties because the family was as poor as a church mouse. They couldn't afford. And had pigs, they sold the pigs and bought a pound of bacon back. They couldn't afford to butcher, except when a couple of pigs died on red fever. They were cleaned up and they were consumed, which I at first didn't want to do, but see, the others didn't die, so I ate it too. Yeah. But then the mayor next town, he heard about the German being there, free labor. They came and got me with a policeman on a bicycle and planted bayonet and picked me up to take to the town to work for the mayor. But the farmer, he didn't want the crops to lose me so easy. He brought a pound of butter to the police chief and I went back to the farm. But a week later, they hauled me back to the mayor's office. So I was traded at one point for a pound of butter.
Wow.
Yeah. But I was treated well there, I must say, you know, and even the police were not the militia that we learned after the war. The police were just as, I remember the mayor, he couldn't read or write, but he was a partisan in the war, and he thought that was sort of an honor job for him. And his brother was caught in the concentration camp, and he was not treated nicely, is what I can gather. And he hated me, he was after me. And I hid in the house, and the maid protected me, so he went into the basement so he couldn't get in. And then he chased me around town, and I went to the police. That was the last time I seen of him. He said you would never have to worry about him anymore. Yeah. Yeah, that was quite an experience. And in retrospect, it was, I look back at it, it was a learning experience, you know, in life, yeah. Then in '48, I came out through the Red Cross, and I didn't know at that point, well, before that, I should go back a little. I didn't know where my parents were, but I remembered the address in West Germany. Like, we had a farm and we had livestock. Also, it was all registered. You could smell a little bit. Like the chickens, you had 2 levels. When they came to count the chickens, well, you had some on top and they made a lot of noise. They couldn't tell the difference. So they came and offered for a moose or a chicken, you know. And I remembered that address and I wrote to them at the same time, and then I got there. My mom was there. That's where we learned from each other where we were. And at this time I got out through the Red Cross. For all several kids I know, there were 8 of us that came out. Yeah, in '48, and we went to Warsaw for a week and met with the other kids. And then we put on a train to go to Schlesien, which is the last province that's now under Polish rule. And the other kids that came with me, they, of course, they started praying the Lord's Prayer, and they were all losing. I was holy Catholic. I said, oh my gosh, they say the same now as we do. So looking back at it, you know, that was a good experience. Yeah. And then when we came to Berlin by train, there were the Russians. But they jumped on the train, but even so I spoke fluent Polish at that time. I still had a hard time understanding the Russians, you know. But I remember them jumping on the train and searching it, I suppose, but we were not no more harmed at that point. There was no harm come to us. Matter of fact, I could have brought a gun with me. Nobody searched us, you know.
Yeah.
So that was a good experience. Yeah. And then eventually we got united with my mom. There was a converted pig spot that was converted to living quarters, so she had 2 rooms there. And of course, well, I had never seen Dad again because he would died on typhoid fever in East Germany with his other 2 brothers. Neither of them survived. They died of typhoid fever. Actually, I survived typhus fever, and when I went back to East Prussia, I hoped that my parents would be back, but they never were there. Mm. But a neighbor's lady nursed me to health with a crock lard that she had buried in the ground that the Russians hadn't found. Mm. Yeah. And then I got a job on a farm. And 1 day a week I went to school, because from early 45 till August 48, I didn't see no school. I was 13. And when I came back, I was 16 years old. So I went to this agricultural school 1 day a week and working for the farm. Then a little later we had the opportunity to be, we were 5 siblings. And Mom that was alive, we had the opportunity to rent the farm for 5 years, or lease the farm for 5 years. Mm. So we all got onto the farm. But then in 52, I attended agricultural college. And there was a letter from my cousin who worked for the office that was from the church in East Prussia. They had a sort of office there where they kept track of all the former residents, you know. Hmm. And he got a letter there. Somebody in Canada was looking for a boy between 17 and 21 years old. So I knew how much was known. I said, well, I finished agricultural college. I said, in a year's time I can be back. I could have paid off the fare. But then I worked for Gastil on the farm for a while. And he hauled some hay out of Nicholson from the Macbeth place. And my gosh, the farm was for sale, and I said someday I sure would be able to hope to be able to buy that place. And 55, when in 53 I came over. In 55 I did buy the place, you know. It was $3,800. But that was for 250, 460, how much is that?
400 and...
Yeah,
250.
for 3,800 it was unimaginable, you know. To be able to buy chocolate around that cheap.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, and then I worked on the dairy farm there till winter, and I had a little disagreement with the farmer's wife that caused me to quit. I had a few dollars saved, and I ended up with a Dutch family. And stayed there, and I smoked very little when I came back. Both of them, their wife and him, they both smoked nearly, ever smoke. Oh. So I got them to begin to smoke, but when I came first, the pack of cigarettes lasted me 3 weeks. You know. Then 71, on 170, I called it quits and haven't smoked since.
Good for you.
Yeah. So I stayed there with a Dutch family in 54, 55, and then we moved on to the farm, and I let my friend come over that year. Can you imagine? I paid down on the farm paid the fare for my friend to come over, which is Hans Sander, which is other boys and his kids. And I bought a pickup from 5 years old from Bonnie Anderson, but don't say Bonnie Anderson, say Robert Anderson. His wife doesn't like it to be called Bonnie Anderson. Yeah. So we started working for Dawson Wade. I started working for Dawson Wade in '54. And I started as a laborer about 25 an hour. Then a little later I got promoted to a rock where I made about 85. That was a big raise.
Yeah.
And we went to drive the shaft down for the first bridge there. And one weekend we came back, or the one day everything was filled back because the underground water had washed the gravel and everything back in. So we worked around at 24/7 with 3 shifts, you know. Wow. And I made $500 in that 2 weeks. That was
Wow.
just unreal.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I'll never forget that, yeah. And then we worked as a laborer then, and we hauled cement for the second bridge. From the Lincoln, there was a spur around into the side there, you know. And Gareb had at least a truck, or he provided a truck to haul the cement from the boxcar to the down to the bridge side. But it had rained, and when we came back, a rock slide came down. And I'll never forget, as we came down on top of the hill, there were 2 moose, and I said, 2 mooses. And they all laughed at me, you know, because I said 2 mooses. Well, next thing we go downhill, he wanted to shift back, he got it out of gear, but not back in gear and no brakes. So we said, well, here we go, that's the end of it, you know. But the slide, as we came further down, had a big rock about this side there. We hit it with the front fin and we made an L shape. In the mud, that's where the truck got stopped. A few feet from going over the back to the railroad track. I tell you, that was quite an experience.
Bet it was.
So I had another close call one day. I had to relieve myself, of course, you know, the country did doing this, but. And a rock came by, a big size, right beside me. They could have hit me a little bit then too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that was quite an experience. But good wages. Then the one year I decided to, like in the summer we got laid, then the winter we got laid off. That was our seasonal work. And the one year I decided to go in the bush as a choker man. I worked there for 2 days, the cat broke down. And I came back to town and there was a note at the mailbox to come back because they kept 2 drillers there and the one guy had broken his toe because the steel broke on it when he drilled. To go back frost drilling, you know, on the hill here. And after that I had no more desire to go in the bush for a choker man.
I'll bet.
I'd say the people in the bush, they earn their money.
Yeah.
They earn their money. Yeah. So that the road construction finished in '56. And I looked for a job here. The sawmill, they just opened up Golden Number right by its Siglets. And started working there at the mill and I started from the green chain. Pretty soon I was promoted to a plate feeder. And then came the regulations of lumber grading. They asked me if I wanted to take the course for lumber grading. Of course I would, you know, anything to advance yourself. And down the road there, I became a lumber grader instructor for 10 years. Under the supervision of the RMA inspector, you know. Yeah. So that put us into 56. So, any questions?
No, you're doing great. You're doing really good.
Yeah, and from Golden Lumber was sold out to Kicknor's company, which was a mining company from the States. And they sold out to Evans Products. And then after a while, Evans Products sold out, and 10 partners took over the mill from Golden and Dartmouth. Yeah, and then they changed their name from Evans Products to Evans Forest Products to be in line with what we were doing, what in fact it was to separate from the company of the States. You know.
Right.
Yeah, that was the reason for that. Yeah, let me look at my notes.
Okay.
Yeah, in the meantime, I was down the road a member of the Kinsman Club. And then I belonged to the Secretary Catholic Church in Golden, and so that also was part of Knights of Columbus, which was a Catholic fraternity organization. Then also in 70, for a little while I worked a few months in Donald. Dick Connick was looking through the paper for a lumber grader supervisor, and I applied. Of course, he hired me. And there was a little confrontation that the union representative came in, and Dick Connick would have nothing of it. So we had Maya, I forget his first name, Mr. Maya, and John, no, he passed away not too long ago. He had taught to drive the school bus, helped me out.
Mather.
Mather.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had me each one under the arm and transferred out of the mill, and I didn't like confrontation, so I quit. And Evans took me back with the same race and everything. They wanted me back, so I was glad to go back. But as it turned out, 1970, Dick Connick, he came to a lumber grading class, and he would befriend himself with me some more, and he offered me to go in partnership. And we formed the partnership of Klafki cattle breeders, which I took on full time in May 1st, 71. And things didn't go as well as they should have. My share appeared to going down in the partnership, so I wanted out. And in 76, I did end it, but I should mention a few things. In the 5 years, I did take a course in artificial insemination of cattle. So I became an artificial insemination techniker. And bred our own cows because that was the great things of import cattle at the time. All the different breeds came there. They started with the Cholet, Limousine, the Klafki. Anyway, also was a member of the Canadian Limousine Association, and that we also had the BC Limousine Association for a brief time over the president, which came to an end when the partnership came to an end. Yeah. Of course, when I came to Golden, I started to work for Gus Steele on Anderson Road, where the big barns are still today there, yeah. And as I mentioned before, that I lasted not too long there because I had a different of a problem with his wife. Like, they had a beautiful daughter, but at 15, she was too far advanced for me. I was a shy Catholic boy that lived by the rules. So no fooling around till you get married, you know. Which I said paid off for me. In 57, Rita joined the two sisters here because the eldest Nellie, she was married to Bill Schubeck, who operated a big band restaurant. And of course, when Rita came, she started there as a waitress. And the other sister, Mary, she had a boyfriend that also worked for Dawson Wade, and he introduced me to Rita. That's how I got to know her. A straight Irish girl from Dublin, become a, might say, a farmer's wife.
Yeah.
Never got the feet dirty what she did in the 5 years we were on the farm. I remember one time we had an Angus cross bull, black bull, and I wanted to ship him. I had the ramp in the truck, everything up. Tried to get him on the truck. Well, give Rita a pitchfork. I said, you make sure it doesn't come out your way. He did come out her way and jumped clear over her. Never forget that. I said, oh my good Lord. Yeah, that was something to remember. I guess another thing to remember on the farm was the 74 flood.
Mm.
In the morning, when we were on the farm, Anderson Road, in the morning you could walk on dry ground from the house to the barn. In the evening, the rubber boots that you had weren't high enough to go to the barn or dry ground anymore.
Mm.
That whole field was just one raging river, an overflow from what you call it?
Hospital Creek?
Hospital Creek, yeah. It just came down. But then at the time we had to move the cattle to Nicholson because I had property in Nicholson, the Macbeth farm, and freshly seeded. And we had alfalfa, and the cows got broken into that alfalfa field after a rain. I don't know, some of the cattle just went up like a balloon. I know I use what that you call it, tuca, was it?
Oh yeah.
To release the gas,
That.
but we still had to butcher a few. Yeah. That was another memorable circumference. Yeah, then in 76 I went back to Evans. They hired me back there. At that time I was a quality control supervisor, and they gave me back my own job. which I was very thankful for. But then we had a court order to move off the Nicholson property. And with 6 kids, that was hard to come by. The first time we moved into what now owned by, what you call, that's a funny Italian name.
A funny Italian name.
They have all them hopes, it's the homes.
Mastriani?
Mastriani. Now, where do I come to Mastriani? Oh yeah, their son had that house built, was it Peterson?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and we lived there for a little while. But then we moved back to the farm, and I wanted to go back, and so I did, and it's pretty soon the sheriff comes to move off again, and my gosh. Luckily, this house was empty and belonged to the company, and it was half torn apart. And the manager used to own this, but the manager was fired. And looking back, I think he was fired because of me, because I was in a legal battle and I could fight it in him, what I was up against. And he said, well, I talked to Mike Sekula, that was a company lawyer, you know. Of course, that brought my business into the company, so I guess they didn't like that.
Yeah.
So he had to go. Maybe I should back up a little bit.
Could you back up to tell us when you married Rita?
Yeah, we got married in October of 58. A nice sunny day. And we've been back together ever since. Actually, I covered together construction. No, I pretty well have everything covered, what I have notes up there.
And how many children do you have?
We have 6 children. You know, we moved into this house. This was the way it was. The bottom level was very much the way it was. But the upstairs was all torn apart and the downstairs was not finished. But we make shift walls between the 3 rooms with doors that he had taken apart and made shift walls, you know, to separate the girls from the boys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And your kids' names?
Well, the oldest one is Gertrude, but she's better known as Trudy.
Yeah.
The second one is Jeanette, better known as Jenny. Then comes Gregory, is better known as Greg. Then comes Stephen, or Stephen, better known as Steve. Then comes Patricia. She didn't want to be changed, wanted to be known as Pat, it always had to be Patricia.
Yeah.
And Richard's the youngest one.
Patricia worked a couple seasons for me at the museum.
Yeah, for the museum and all. Well, that's when she looked after the, became grave diggers on the hill.
Oh, yes. Yes. In the old Pioneer Cemetery, she worked the summer
Yeah.
over there too, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, eventually, Trudy, Jenny, of course, she went to university. She has 2 degrees, one in teaching and one in zoology. And she works for Parks Canada as external communications manager.
Wow.
Gregory, he works for Trans-Canada Company, which is a big company. I don't know, they employ about some 3,000 people, you know. Yeah, Stephen, he works for Cominco, is it Cominco? Anyway, and the coal mine in Sparwood.
Oh, yes, yeah.
He's a foreman there for the shovel crew. And Richard, he graduated. He went to he worked in Donald for the summer for a while, but he couldn't see himself standing there in one spot grading lumber for the rest of his life, so he went back to school. He went to university in Prince George, and then he ended up in the university in Kamloops. He is a wildlife biologist and he has a master's degree in it. For a while he was contracting work, which was not bad, but he got a job with Conservancy Canada and in Mamiya. They were after him, and he said, for that money I cannot work. 3 weeks later they came back, you make us an offer what you want. So he did, and they accepted.
Wow, good for him.
Yeah. So weekends he still comes to Golden. He had a suite in one of the hotels on the hill. He wants to keep that till the end of May. And then he's looking for something steady. And in Mamiya right now he's a house sitter for somebody till the end of May. All he pays for is the utilities, power, and that's all he pays for.
Good deal.
I said, why don't you give up the hill? Sure, it's a good deal. $1,000 for a suite. A month, heat, TV, everything included. The only thing he had to pay was his telephone. And he used his cell phone, so he had to use the other phone. Yeah, but Daddy said, Joe's live once.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
yeah.
So, Leo, were there any events that took place in Golden? I'm thinking about social activities that you were involved in, May celebrations or the rodeo or any community events like that.
I even was in a play involved at the Civic Center.
No.
And Mrs. Kruger, I don't know if you remember her.
No, I don't.
Yeah, we had some of the cast, I remember Bob Breton,
Ah, come on.
Margaret Slaughton, Malum, of course, myself, that's the city I remember. Because I was supposed to be a young bachelor.
No.
I remember that. Then a rodeo, we put up the little fencing which was done by Klafki cattle breeders. For a while they had the name still up, but it's gone now. Yeah. But I thought there was much more
No.
social activities, dances and yeah. I also remember when we first came in, for a glass of beer you paid 10 cents.
Okay.
You know, when I was working on the highway, a glass of beer 10 cents.
Listening.
Haircut 50 cents. That was the times, you know.
Yeah.
What places did you shop in Golden? Did you have a favorite store or somebody?
Well,
that
we
you
had the King Department Store, which later became the Barlow Store. And then there was an Italian that took over the groceries. I forget his name. Then of course there was Casey's store, which we shopped in, you know. Christmas time you always had something extra for you, you know.
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And also when we had a friend circle, we played Scott, which is a European game, you know. But it's, I know both bridge and Scott, and I think Scott is superior.
Oh, is that right?
32 cards, and you will get 10 cards, and 2 you bid, and then you give 2 back, you know.
Oh.
There's always one place against the other 2, you know. Yeah, I love bridge too. I haven't played bridge for years, probably. I forgot all my skills.
Yeah. I understand there's quite an active bridge group in Golden now.
It's going good now?
Yeah. Roy Nixon was telling us
Yeah.
that the bridge group in Golden, that there's quite a few of them playing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, you know, when our friends moved away, our friends circle in Golden shrunk, other than the coffee group now have become our friends. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We go to coffee twice a day, it's, except Sunday only, unless we have visitors or something comes in between, you know. But normally twice a day we go for coffee.
I know when I'm walking home from work at 4 o'clock, I usually see you headed out for coffee.
All right,
Yeah.
right. And did I mention the 4-H clubs?
No, you didn't, and I meant to ask you about that because you were so involved in that for so long.
Yeah, I was, we had the Golden District 4-H club. I was the 4-H leader for 5 years. And so was, Pedley was his first name. Pedley.
Calvin Pedley?
Pedley, yeah. Yeah, it was him, but we had quite a group going there, you know. Yeah. And that was brought out actually by
I'll keep the cup.
the exotic briefs coming in. And that way you could show different breeds what they had for performance, you know. Like for example, the Charolais is a big animal. The Limous, the meat that I have is pretty lean. Not like the British breeds, the Hereford and the Angers, they are quite, when they feed them to butcher, they have quite a bit marbling on that meat, which makes the beef tastier than just the lean.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and the highway I worked for Boston and Wade for 3 seasons. What else can I tell you?
I don't know. I think you've covered it all really well, and we didn't even have to go through our list of questions. You had them all ready for us. So,
Yeah.
if there's anything else you'd like to add, we'd certainly love to hear it.
About any characters?
Oh yeah, Leo, characters. You've been in Golden a really long time. You must have run into some interesting old characters in town.
Canute and Hugo.
You're not the first one to mention Canute and Hugo, because they really were characters, weren't they?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. That's all the only ones I really remember. All the rest are sort of a hearsay. You really don't want to repeat that.
Yeah, yeah,
No.
for sure.
Yeah.
Where am I going?
And yesterday we had a conversation with a fellow that was telling us that, oh no, he didn't tell us that. He told us something else, but it led me to ask
The
him
back.
whether or not they had
The
any
back.
any plants or trees or anything that they used for medicine.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Did you guys have any
And yo-yo.
any kind of natural medicine, or did you rely on the doctors to look after you?
Yeah.
Come on.
Chamomile tea is used for colds, you know. Your stuffed nose. You steam it, you put it over your towel over your head and absorbs the steam from chamomile, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm curious about when you said that when you had typhoid fever and the lady you were with had lard. I was wondering how that fixed your problem, your disease.
Nutrition.
Nutrition.
Otherwise you couldn't buy
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
Oh.
There was no store. 40, since February 45, there was no store, no hospital, no nothing. There was just nothing. But there was lots of rye in the barns, you know. And we threshed them with a flail, if you know what a flail is.
I do.
Yeah. And in plumbing, we just hit it with a stick, you know,
No.
and used the coffee ground to make flour, you know.
No, that's not yours.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that were times. Then I became quite a fisherman. Or actually, my dad. Yeah, we had at home lots of ponds with fish in it. You know, like on our farm. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 ponds with fish in it. And you had fish traps.
Cheetah.
Picture yourself a barrel, a small barrel, and you put
Ball on the
a
vine.
cylinder in,
The vine, the
you know,
vine.
from a mesh,
I know.
or you also could use
No,
chicken
no.
wire, you know. And you make a cylinder from each side that bypasses,
No.
and you put eggshells or meat or something inside. That will attract them. They get in, but they can't. They don't find their flesh out, you know.
Right.
Yeah. And that what kept us going fish. That was,
A staple.
yeah.
Yeah. Incredible. It seems that you've had a pretty good life in Golden.
Oh yeah.
And what would you say your best, your favorite thing about living in Golden is, or has been over the years?
Well, you know, I'm a farmer at heart, you know. I enjoyed the farm years very much, other than the financial end of it, you know.
Yeah.
But the work, I love farming, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, I should mention my championship trophy in grading.
Yes.
I got that in 1970. When the three associations competed, that was at Northern Interior Rubber Factory and the Caribou Rubber Manufacturers Association and Interior Rubber Manufacturers Association. The coast had their own number grade championship. But the Interior was the three associations in 1970. I had the good fortune to win it,
Wow. Good for you.
and that's the trophy there. Yeah.
Well, thank you for letting us come today and chat with you, have this conversation with you. We really appreciate it. And we will be back in a month or so with a copy of your conversation that we had today, so that you have it. And near the end of May or into the middle of June, we'll have a community event where we show parts of our conversations with people. We'll put them all together in one big film, and just to give a glimpse of some of the bits of stories that people have told us during their conversations. So.
You know, when you record my voice, when you replay it, you don't think it's me.